So, we've got a new fresh look of the Blood of Dawnwalker. For those who don't know, that is a game made by a bunch of devs who worked on The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. They were in CD Projekt Red and now they created their own studio called Rebel Wolves, and now they started working on this promising new game, new IP called The Blood of Dawnwalker, which is a vampire game set in like medieval times. It does have a bit of a Witcher vibe to it as well, if you've seen the gameplay and the trailers before. It's a dark fantasy, it's an open world dark fantasy RPG, very much like Witcher was. So it's set in 14th century Europe, and you play as this human by day, vampire by night hybrid person. It's shaping up to be a pretty promising game. And I've covered this in my previous videos if you've been tuning in, and you know how much I'm hyped for this game. So this new first look by IGN is something I'm very keen to check out. They just posted this like right before the Gamescom event, so it kind of skipped my radar a little bit and I've just discovered it. So let's jump in.
The Witcher series really did well to capture that sense of exploring a brutal fantasy world as a protagonist who knew how to get their hands dirty. But in the upcoming dark fantasy RPG The Blood of Dawnwalker, a new game from a team of former creatives behind The Witcher 3, it leans further into a morally ambiguous setting as you decide which path its protagonist will take. One that maintains its human form and ideals, or one that embraces newfound powers as a half-vampire. Just ahead of Gamescom 2025, we got an extended walkthrough of The Blood of Dawnwalker from the devs at Rebel Wolves that put a spotlight on the parallel playstyles of human and vampire action RPG gameplay. So far, The Blood of Dawnwalker is putting forth some strong concepts for its take on a dark fantasy RPG that's all about navigating two different worlds in cunning fashion.
Just to give you some context, they haven't given away too much. We saw a little bit of combat, human to human combat, swords and stuff, and a little bit of the dark night combat where you play as a vampire. It was very interesting. It was significantly more interesting than I thought it would be for this game. And normally when you say vampire RPG, I'm like, oh, okay, another one. But this one feels very promising, so I'm very keen to see what they got to offer just a little bit more in context. So
part of what makes vampires so compelling as horror characters is that they can be tragic figures. Having to contend with supernatural forces that potentially put them at odds with humanity is a concept that can be great to explore in video games. That idea is at the heart of The Blood of Dawnwalker.
I am life.
Cool. Not the first time it's been done, but let's see what they've got. We've seen this in a trailer before.
Set in a supernatural version of 14th century Europe.
Look at that. That just looked right out of Witcher.
And his vendetta against a powerful coven of vampires that seek to take over Europe with violence and even some old-fashioned medieval era politicking. After Cohen has a violent encounter with the vampire leader Brentius during the abduction of his family, the protagonist develops a special strain of vampirism that transforms him into a half-vampire that can navigate the increasingly blurry line between human and supernatural.
Things will be different now.
It is pretty interesting as a concept. You gotta give it to them.
All of you.
Our extended preview focused on a quest called A Monk and a Saint, which
this gameplay is from previously released.
To uncover a hidden tomb, and the
still not the new gameplay.
Side.
Wait, are you Mihai?
This quest features a round of combat sequences against some foes capable of withstanding Cohen's abilities in both his human and vampire forms. It initially seemed standard fare for an RPG quest, but where Dawnwalker differs is in how the quest can...
Last time I saw a video from them, it looked significantly better than this. I think the game is, again, as I have mentioned numerous times, it's suffering from IGN encoding. I think, yeah, that might be the issue here. I don't know. It looks good. It doesn't look bad. I feel like the quality of the video could be better. If I just switch it to 4K.
Day, and which form you take on to complete it. The leading narrative hook carrying players forward is the month-long time limit, giving Cohen only a limited period to rescue his family. You can largely advance the day at your choosing, and Dawnwalker doesn't necessarily pressure you to
Oh,
make
look at that. I don't know if I picked up on this before, but yeah, you have a month limit, and you have a
time-specific choices.
your days are counting. You got 22 days left. Interesting. I wonder how that work. Given that it's an open world too.
Your approach to progression will very much influence the course of events in Cohen's journey, especially with which side of Cohen is taking the lead. Time is essentially a resource that you can spend with each passing quest and activity, and depending on what you do and when you do it.
Okay.
The developers gave us a run of the preview's main quest from two different sides, as both Cohen's human and vampire forms. When playing as the latter, Dawnwalker shifts to a stealth action playstyle, where the protagonist must avoid detection from guards.
We saw a little bit of the new gameplay
Cohen's
just
vampire
before.
abilities are also unleashed in this state, allowing players to walk on walls,
This is old
teleport,
ones.
and use blood abilities and vampiric claws to cut down foes. And yes, you'll also be able to drain the blood from humans, foe and non-combative alike, for stealth takedowns or outright executions. I was impressed by how much the action and pacing looked like a mix between The Witcher's grand scope and the immersive sim element of Dishonored when seeing Cohen in his vampire form.
That is
You
true.
can truly leap across rooftops
Does have a
and take
Dishonored
jump
vibe
on
to
some
it too.
foes, which was very satisfying to see.
Better be quiet.
However,
That's good
it
news.
shows how players will have to grapple with some moral choices, as Cohen, who needs to feed to maintain his vampire abilities during the night, must do. While you can feed on animals to offer some temporary relief, the larger payout comes from human targets. The vampire form looks to present a more direct and action-heavy approach to engaging with the quests. However, Cohen's human form presents an interesting contrast by focusing more on investigation and tactical methods. Because Cohen can blend in with others in his human form, there are far more opportunities
So he's basically medieval Batman.
to engage with
Just
different
reverse.
characters and uncover pathways for success
That's probably a
without
bad
the
pun,
need
though.
for bloodshed.
Perhaps the crypt was built over or sealed away?
It was also
You know what I
fascinating
mean.
to see how the characters react to knowing the vampires are now in control of the region and that life is, understandably, far worse off. When things pop off, combat shows the stark differences in Dawnwalker's playstyles. I adopted the tactical action approach, which feels like a blend of The Witcher 3's versatile swords and sorcery combat flow, combined with the calculated nature of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's swordplay. It presents an opportunity for players to feel
Yep.
powerful, where they have to exploit vulnerabilities. In his human form, Cohen relies on his swordplay, along with gadgets and hex spells, to overcome some enemies. Similar to the Outer Worlds, you can pull up a tactical menu to target an enemy to execute attacks that can stun foes or deliver killing blows. Combat gets a bit more hectic when in Cohen's vampire form, which sees him unleash his supernatural blood-based abilities. In addition to his sword, Cohen's massive claws can tear into enemy defenses, and he can pull off combat finishers where he can lay into foes.
So he's a little bit of Wolverine in there too. It's interesting. We did talk about this in the previous video, how the combat flows a lot like Witcher 4. Ugh, we keep saying Witcher 4. Witcher 3 and mixed with a little bit of KCD. It's hard to compare that because KCD is first person, but I guess what it means is probably the sword plays a little bit more nuanced than just a simple hack and slash, which is awesome. I can see like there's a marker there that like points in direction that kind of tells you where the hits are coming. I don't really fully understand it, but I'm assuming that it's got something to do with the combat.
However, Dawnwalker still presents some challenges with elite foes, such as the human blood guards who have armor and weapons to stand up to Cohen's vampiric abilities, along with some more dangerous monsters and the rival vampires that can overpower the protagonist if you're not careful. An interesting detail that the developers highlighted during the presentation was that players could make a beeline to the primary goal of the game early on. Think of how players might try to defeat Ganon in the opening hours of The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Oh.
However, the team stated that it'll be a challenge to pull off, as the core
Okay.
game is all about powering up Cohen with new gear and abilities. Still, I'll be curious
That's-
to see if it's possible for players to clear
I love when developers do things like that, where they give you the option to just like go straight to the ending if you really want to do that, and just get on with it if you want. I mean, you don't have to do that. It's not a requirement, and no one would have said anything. But it just means, to me, it feels like that kind of stuff happens when developers actually have fun making the game, and you can tell, and that actually comes through when you actually play the game. So that's why I think this game is one of those promising games as well, and think it will actually end up being one of the good games, if not one of the best games, eventually when it drops. I just love stuff like that.
The campaign early on in Cohen's journey. I wish we had more of an opportunity to see what the larger world would be like, but so far, The Blood of Dawnwalker captures that feeling of navigating two different worlds as a half-vampire, which is a very compelling premise for a role-playing game.
It's also hard to pull off. Glad to hear that they're pulling it
The
off.
Blood of Dawnwalker captures that open-ended freeform nature of classic role-playing games like Gothic 1 and 2, which is exciting to see. Hopefully the full game will be able to deliver on the concept of a vampire RPG with some world-changing stakes. For more on IGN's coverage of Gamescom 2025, check out our recent previews of Ninja Gaiden 4 and Marvel Cosmic Invasion. And of course, for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
They tried to change me into one of them. But I became something else instead. Their worst nightmare.
I was hoping for a little bit more gameplay here.
Dawnwalker,
Didn't really get a lot of it. Just bits and snippets.
trapped between the two worlds. Fighting to even the score. Fighting to understand the evil behind it all.
He is out there watching, seeping into you, growing.
Yeah. It's pretty much what we've seen before. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I was hoping for a little bit more stuff to see, because it was like one of the IGN exclusive looks or whatever they do. The video kind of confirmed what we already knew about the game so far, that it's gonna be this guy Cohen you play as. He's a half vampire, half human. So you play as human by day, vampire by night. I'm still concerned about how it's gonna play when you play as a human versus when you play as a vampire. I did mention in a previous video where, as a vampire, you have so many powers at your arsenal. You're pretty much like a super human. During the day, you're just playing as a normal human person with a sword. I'm not sure how you're going to balance that, especially with the navigational powers. You could just navigate. You could do in like Dishonored or Thief, where just teleport into like places just you can see ahead of you, which you can't do as a human. So you're kind of restricted in that way navigationally as well. So I don't know how that'll play into the gameplay loop. Hopefully there's a good balance to that, and that it would still be enjoyable. They did mention that you play a lot more into like your investigative side of things as a human, which is interesting to hear, but still the details are a little bit murky there, so I don't really know. It's harder to tell just yet, but I think it would be it looks pretty promising. It has a lot of potential. I think it would be a good game, given that it's been made by developers who worked on Witcher 3, and CDPR usually do really well. Time will only tell, right? Let me know what you guys think of this game. If you are keen to play this and get your hands on it, keen to see more of the gameplay and the gameplay mechanics and stuff, and whether or not this is a first launch day buy for you, or you're gonna wait for sale, you haven't decided. Whatever you think, just let me know in the comments down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Woo!